Hey everybody, Don Georgievich here, Job Interview Tools. Today I want to talk to you about being yourself in a job interview. That's right, being you, being the real, authentic you in a job interview. Have you ever gone on an interview where you just felt nervous and uncomfortable like almost the whole time, and then when you got out of the interview, you're like, wow, I did a terrible job. They didn't see the real me. I didn't get a chance to show them who I was. And they got to see some other part of me that I don't even know who that person is. Well, you're not alone. That happens to a lot of people. You see, we go into an interview and we have so much tension and fear about this interview that it changes who we are. It changes the way we act and respond to questions. Interviews, it's not a natural thing. Interviews are not natural. So when we go in there, we're in a very unnatural setting trying to be ourselves. And you know what? We're not. We end up screwing that up, and the interviewer doesn't get to see who we really are, and they're like, well, I don't think this person's right for the job because they didn't get a chance to see the real you. And in some cases, you start to warm up near the interview. Maybe after 40 or 50 minutes in the interview, you start feeling more comfortable, you find a groove, you start talking about your experiences, and you're feeling good. And then the interview's over. So they got to see like the real you for about 10 minutes and the not real you for 40 or 50 minutes. So how are they going to make up their mind? They're going to make up their mind based on the first 40 minutes. And that's the worst part of you. And that's probably why you don't get certain jobs that you apply for, because interviewers make up their mind right away about whether they like you or not. They're not so concerned about the last 10 minutes. So what I want to do is I want to teach you in this video how you can be, on your game, the whole 60 minutes. So they can see the real you from the minute you walk in there and shake their hands. So here's how we do that. Now, if you think about it, go back to the last interview you had and think about the groove that you got in when you started talking, and everything was just coming to you, and you could talk about your experiences. You made yourself look great, your team look great, the company, everything. You were on your game. But why was that? Why were you on your game in the last 10 minutes? It's because you changed your state. You started thinking about all the experiences, all the work experiences that you had, and the memories that are associated with those. So you're thinking back to these past experiences that you did with your colleagues and your friends, and those were good times. It's like your mind is kind of transcending back into a different time. A time when you were comfortable. A time when you felt like yourself. A time when you were the boss. Not a time when you were in a job interview. A time when you were doing what you do. A time when you were doing the very best at your chosen career, whatever that is, whether that's web development, whether that's accounting, whether that's engineering, it doesn't really matter. But you start talking about your stories and your experiences, and in your mind, you're going back to that time, a time when you were comfortable. So how can you be that comfortable? How can you start off that way instead of having to work up to that? Well, you know what? The answer is going to surprise you. It's really not that hard. All you have to do before your interview is start preparing for your interview by thinking back of all of your work experiences. And the best way to do this is get out a sheet of paper and start writing down your experiences. Maybe pick one project that you worked on and write out all the details. Break it up into 4 phases. Phase 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what we did in phase 1, this is what we did in 2, 3, 4. And then just start, and this could be a project, from years ago or last month, it doesn't matter. But start rewriting everything that you worked on, everything that you did. And the more you keep thinking about this, the more that's going to keep coming to your mind. Keep writing it down, refreshing it. And what you're doing is you're transferring all those long-term experiences, all that long-term work experience to your short-term memory. See, your long-term memory is a disaster. It stores things in a real haphazard way, and it becomes very difficult to pull that information out during the interview, which is why you struggle to answer questions so much, because you're pulling all this stuff from your long-term memory. What you want to do is rewrite those long-term memory work experiences into your short-term memory. Now they're in the short-term memory. Your short-term memory is fast, it's quick, and it can talk about things very quickly without a lot of thought, without having to think. Okay? So, you with me so far? I mean, that makes sense, right? Long-term memory, haphazard storage, disaster. Put things in short-term memory, quick, fast, and you can start talking about anything at any given time. So when you're in the interview, and there's that extra pressure because there's people in there, there's a job on the line, you have just thought about all of your long-term work experiences, moved them over into your short-term memory, and now what you're going to do is when they ask you questions, you're going to be quick. You're going to be quick to answer, and when you start thinking about those work experiences, you're going to think about the good times and the fun that you had on those projects. That's going to relax you. It's going to relax you in the interview, and they're going to get to see the real you. That's the whole point. And don't just do this for one project. I mean, start with one, but then maybe pick 2 or 3 other projects that are related to the job that you're applying for and that have a lot of overlapping competencies and skills and things like that. Rewrite all those projects. And then reread them, like, write them out, a couple days before the interview, and then reread that stuff before you go into the interview and continually reinforce your past experiences, move them over into that short-term memory. And then when you go into that interview, it's going to be so easy to talk about that stuff. And you're going to be able to do it with a smile on your face. You're going to be able to talk about it like it just happened yesterday, and you're going to be able to go on and on and on, and you're going to be yourself in the interview. You won't be this other person who is afraid to talk or can't think of anything. This will also help you when you're in the interview and your brain freezes. You ever have a brain freeze in the interview and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Well, this will eliminate brain freeze. Totally. No more brain freeze. If you rewrite all of your past experiences, and you got to do it. I mean, you got to do it on paper. You can't just sit and think about it. You have to put pen to paper and write it out in detail. And then after you go through it once, go through it again. I guarantee you're going to find more things to fill in the blanks. And all of this is going to fuel you in the interview. And you're just going to be unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. You're going to be on your best game ever. I guarantee it, because you are just going to be firing off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and no matter what they ask you, you are going to be able to answer it because you're comfortable, you're confident, you've already thought about this stuff ahead of time. And that's the key. That's one of the biggest reasons people fail interviews, is because they think they're just going to go in there and wing it. They're like, well, they're just going to ask me about things that I've done in my past. Well, I'll tell them whatever they want to know. Well, you're doing yourself a great disservice if you don't think about all of these things that you plan to talk about ahead of time. You have to think about all of this ahead of time. That's why people fail, because they don't think about any of this stuff ahead of time. They just think they're going to pull it out of their butt when they go in there and just say whatever the interviewer wants to hear. It doesn't work that way. Because when you're in the interview, you have a heightened level of nerves. You're more nervous. I mean, there's a job on the line. Maybe you don't have a job right now and you want one, and this is the only way to get one. Now, maybe you say, you know what, I'm not sure what they're going to ask me. Well, take a look at that job description and see the things that they're looking for. And then start thinking about experiences that you have that relate to what they're looking for. That's all there is to it. You do that, you're going to go so much farther in the interview process. I guarantee it. I really do. So go out there on your next job interview and let them see the real you. Let them see who you really are. And that's the person that they're going to like. That's the person they're going to fall in love with. That's the person that they're going to want to make that job offer to. Not that other person who you don't even know who they are. Okay? So go out there, be you on your next job interview. All right, my friend? Good luck on your next interview. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. If you're ready to ace your next interview, then don't leave anything to chance. You can't just show up for a job interview and expect to nail it. You know that. You have to give yourself an advantage. So if you'd like to learn more from me than this video, then I encourage you to grab a copy of the complete interview answer guide and prepare yourself to answer interview questions the right way. Inside, you're getting my 20 years of interviewing and hiring experience, and I'll teach you what you need to say to employers so they want to hire you. So if it's been a while since your last job interview, or you have an interview today, don't spend countless hours figuring out this stuff. Instead, let me take you by the hand and show you how, right now. When you order your copy from jobinterviewtools.com, you're supporting my channel, my message, and job seekers all over the world. And you're getting a book that has already helped over 1 million people get hired for their #1 job. You'll also get direct email access where you can ask me questions and get my personal take on your situation, so you'll never be alone during your job search. And finally, if you found this video helpful, then give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel so you get notifications every time I release a new video. And by subscribing, you support me, my message, and this channel, so I'd really appreciate it. Make sure you hit subscribe.